Okay, let's get going. So last session of the day, right? Whoo! The ranks are getting thin, but that's cool. You guys are probably just as tired as I am. Little confession, I'm a morning person, right? So this is not my time of the day right now. This is when I want to take a nap. So I had a giant cup of coffee beforehand, so nap time after this. But here's the thing. We can get through this session if we work together, right? As a team. We can survive this, and on the other side of this, it's party time, right? So one more night of partying in Boston for most of you guys. Hope you've had fun. Let's talk about content and some of the newer stuff that we're doing. So this is going to be a really good bookend for your day, for those of you guys who made it to the keynote this morning. A lot of the same stuff, we're going to sort of reinforce it, talk a little bit more details about how you can put this into action and why you might want to use some of the tools that Brian and Dharmesh talked about this morning. A couple of housekeeping notes first, though. So here we go. All right, that's me, right? See, it's me up there? Yeah. I do, in fact, ride a bike to work every day. Sometimes it's sunny. Not a lot of time in Boston. I am the product manager on the content team. I'm one of the product managers at HubSpot. We've got a couple of them. The content team is involved with anything that has to do with managing, creating, optimizing content, anything that has to do with the stuff you create that you show to your customers. That's those tools that are involved with that. Those are my tools. Those are the ones that I'm responsible for that you can come and yell at me when they're not doing what they're supposed to, or occasionally you can tell me if you love them. That's cool too. So that's me. You guys have probably seen this in your sleep now, right? So if you're going to tweet stuff, great stuff, terrible stuff. If you hate me, if you just don't like what I'm wearing, that's cool too. Tweet that out and use that hashtag inbound12. And then the last one, you've probably seen these links a bunch too, but I'll leave this up for a second. If you want to go and rate the presentation when I get done, or right now, if you think it's going to be great, that's cool too. So that's it for the housekeeping stuff. So ton of presentations that you guys have probably seen over the past day, 2 days that you've been here, two and a half days. Big message, obviously, is content is still, content is king, right? So creating good content is the fundamental tenet of inbound marketing. It's what you have to get right. It's still what you have to get right. We've been, doing this for a long time. It's everything that Rand said, everything that Brian said, everything that everybody has said about content still holds. Content is still king. It drives the web. It's how you get found if you're doing it right. The scary thing is how many people still don't understand this, right? So Rand talked about it yesterday. If your content is crap online, you are crap online, right? It's just the sorry truth. The great thing is that most of you guys here in this room, and those of you involved with HubSpot and working with inbound marketing, get this, right? You are ahead of the curve, so that's awesome. Here's an example of one of your peers that gets this, and to show an example of this still works. You can still turn your business around. You can still drive your business and improve your business just by creating great content, right? So this is Innovative Marketing Resources, a bunch of really smart folks that solve really hard marketing problems and help people solve these marketing problems. About a year ago, they were really struggling. They were sort of in this old school marketing mode. They were doing the direct mail. They had a website that was pretty much a billboard, didn't have a lot of content. I don't think Kevin minds me saying this too, because he'll be the first to admit it, that they were doing this stuff. They basically got on with HubSpot. They learned some of the stuff we taught them, and they just started creating really good content on their website, getting the stuff that was in their head into their website so that people could find them. And all of a sudden, look, all this magical stuff happened, right? So this is data of an actual customer. There's tons of examples of this. A more than 7x increase in their website traffic. Blog subscribers more than doubled. And just all good things happen when you first start creating good content. But the reality, like I said, not everybody's doing this. And so big question that I pose, that's all great, right? So that's kind of the basics. If you're not creating good content, you should just stop right now, go create some content. Just go write a blog, do something. I'm just kidding. Stay here for now. 30 minutes, then go create some content. But the big question is it really enough to be king, right? Is it enough that your content is king? Just creating that content and getting it up on your website? It's an obvious answer, right? Otherwise, I'd be done in one more slide and we could all go home, but I'm going to make you stay for a little longer. No, it's not enough, right? So the reality is that most of the best content out there is still a dog, right? And what I mean by this is it just sits there. It's static. You put it up on your website, the same thing shows to everybody. Maybe you go and change it every once in a while, but unless you go and do something, every single person that comes to that site is going to see it. It's not going to change. It's always going to be the same. That's just the reality of the tools that have been available to us as marketers up to this point, is there's just, even the best content that you can create is not going to align with every single visitor that comes to your site. So what do? We create average content. We create content that sort of fits what we think is going to fit for everybody, and that ends up being an average. And you know what? Averages don't exist. Not one of your customer is your average. Averages don't exist. Everybody is something different than the average. That's just the reality of the world and statistics and all that good stuff. So you're creating content that doesn't match with anybody in a lot of cases, right? Sometimes you get pretty close and it performs really well, and that's great. What you really need to be doing is thinking about context, right? So Brian talked about this morning, and we're all about content and context. Your content needs context. You have to wrap all of your content in context, or it's not going to resonate with your visitors. So content without context is just noise. If you think about content and context, they're like harmony and melody in a song, right? If you have one, you really don't have a song. Until you have both, then you have a song. It's just noise. Lots of content here, but it's not really meaningful content until you have the context. Now you've got the context, now it's meaningful. This content is with context, and it is money, right? So now we understand it, it resonates, it brings things home. It's all about the context. There are a ton of examples of really big marketers out there that are failing at this, right? Matching up their content with context, right? Lots of examples. It's not just us. Really big marketers with really big budgets and tons of developers at their disposal that don't have these kinds of tools. They don't even have to worry about these things, that aren't solving this problem. This is Sony. This is Sony's website when I go there right now, right? Sony makes a ton of great products. They are world-renowned marketers. They've been killing it for a long time. They do a lot of classic marketing, but they also do some innovative stuff as well. This is their website when I look at it. A little truth about me, right? So I have been to the Sony website a lot. I have a problem with electronics. I have a problem with big screen TVs. I really like them. I like to dream about buying them. I never seem to have enough money to buy them, but I like to look at them. I've been to the Sony website. I have looked at TVs before. When I go back to the site, this is what I see. I have a 4-year-old daughter and a 7-year-old daughter. As much as I would love to send the 4-year-old to college right now, she's not ready, right? Like, I could, but it's probably illegal or something. So big deals on campus on laptops. I'm also a Mac guy, right? I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Mac guy. I'm one of those guys, right? I love Apple products. I would never in a million years dream of buying a Sony laptop, and they probably know that because every time I've visited their site, I've been on a Mac. There's a whole bunch of things that Sony should know about me because I've been on their site a ton of times looking at stuff. But there's not one single shred of context here that matches up with me. So if I'm busy, if I just glance at the site, I see nothing new, I'm moving on. I'm going on to the other piece of noise in my life, whatever other distraction or million other things that I have to do. So the problem for Sony here is that they don't understand where I am in their marketing funnel, right? They haven't set the context based on where I am. So this is the classic marketing funnel, the most simplified version of the marketing funnel, right? You got the tofu, which is the top of the funnel, right? That's where you're all about starting the relationship, engaging with somebody for the first time. You've got middle of the funnel, MOFU. That's where you're drawing somebody through the funnel. That's where you're building that relationship, building trust, establishing that you're somebody that they should be engaging with to solve your problems or to meet their needs, what have you. And then bottom of the funnel, obviously, that's when you're closing the deal, making the sale, those kinds of things. Sony's completely ignoring where I am in this funnel. I'm really coming to Sony. I'm really more of a middle of the funnel kind of person. I'm dreaming of this stuff. I've already engaged. I've already told them lots of stuff about me, but they haven't changed their content. It just sits there. It's just a dog. It's just static on the site. Marketing funnel can get really complicated too, but it's really the same kind of idea. As you understand more and more about the customer, you understand these different stages, these life cycle stages that folks move through. Some of you probably saw Christopher O'Donnell's talk earlier today. You probably spent some time talking about life cycle stage. We're going to spend a lot of time working life cycle stage into the product at HubSpot because it's so important and it's such an easy way to establish context for your content and to better engage with your contacts and work those folks through the funnel and help to build that relationship. So this is the HubSpot funnel. It's a little more complicated. We have a little bit more breakdown. We have this idea of a marketing qualified lead and a sales qualified lead. It's the same kind of thing. It's all about establishing where these people are within the funnel. One of the biggest problems we've got with content and where we've come is that we've gotten really lazy about content. Hats off to Rand. I love Rand. I've seen Rand speak many times, but he's very focused on the top of the funnel. He's all about SEO. He's all about getting people to your website, getting found in search. We've gotten really good over the last 10 years of thinking about search engine results and thinking about search engine optimization and how do we get found. So good, in fact, that we forgot about the role that content has to play in the rest of the conversation, in the rest of the funnel. This is really, really important to understand, right? It's easy to get caught up in the notion of the top of the funnel for your content because the top of the funnel, by and large, most of the people that are coming to your site, if you're doing the right stuff, are going to be top of the funnel folks. Hopefully they're people you've never engaged with before and you're starting that relationship. There's a lot fewer people that are going to be, by definition, in the middle of your funnel or the bottom of the funnel. But those people that are in the middle of the funnel are exponentially more valuable to you. Exponentially, right? They've come back, they've moved farther along. They've said, I have this problem, I need help with it, or I'm interested in your product, or I've narrowed my search down. All these things, they're by definition, they're more valuable, right? And so just focusing that content and leaving that content at the door and stopping your context at the top of the funnel is, you're missing out on a lot, right? You're leaving a lot on the table. So we need to think about content throughout the funnel and setting that context all the way along the way. Now, even at the top of the funnel, we tend to not get it right. We sort of think about, we develop all this great content and we get people to the site and then we put them on this page that doesn't really establish context either, right? So this is an example of City Mortgage, right? When I go to City Mortgage now, I'm constantly looking to save a little money. Maybe I want to refinance my house. I go to City Mortgage. This is what I see on the first page when I get there. Right, I've already decided that I'm going to go to City Mortgage and check them out, so I'm sort of at the top middle of the funnel kind of a thing because I picked them. There's a lot of stuff on this page, but the biggest thing on this page is this giant form. There's nothing on here about what they're going to do for me. Why am I feeling, why do I going to give you all this stuff? I get household income, estimated home value, like all kinds of crazy personal stuff in this form. I don't even know why they're asking for this, right? So it's this there's great content here. They probably did really well in search results because of this stuff. But no thanks. I don't know what you want. So another example, Chase Mortgage. Totally different story. Totally different story, right? This is a much more of an inbound approach. This should be fairly obvious to a lot of you guys, right? A whole bunch of tools. A bunch of calculators. This is right on their front page. I didn't have to go to the tools section of Chase Mortgage. This is just right when I got there. This is the first thing I see when I get there. Some tools, I can calculate some, basically they're just giving stuff away. They're offering insight. They're better aligning their content with the context of where I am in their funnel. So we've all heard the dating analogy associated with inbound marketing or some form of it, right? This is the PG-13 version. I really wanted to do the rated R version, but they wouldn't let me. So it's true though, right? The bottom line is it's all about your relationship with your customers and your soon-to-be customers and your contacts. It's no different than building a relationship with anybody, right? If you're starting out with marry me, you're probably gonna fail most of the time. I don't know, unless you're in Vegas or something. But the reality is you need to build that relationship. You need to establish trust. You need to work them along, right? You need to establish that stage of your relationship and understand it, and let that define the content of your conversation, right? Wherever you are in that conversation, you should be having that human conversation with them. That's what inbound marketing is all about. Be more human, right? Don't just throw the thing that you want to throw at them. Throw the thing that is going to advance that conversation. And if you want that relationship to advance, you need to engage with them and have that conversation. Customer lifecycle stage is a brilliant way to establish context for your content, right? It's really easy to understand, think about where they are in the funnel. If they've moved along, you now know a bunch of new things about them, and you can work on getting them to the next stage. So this life cycle stage, right, it's really important. This is how we think about it at HubSpot. This is our life cycle stage funnel that we think about, and this is how we align the content, right? We like to think about aligning content this way. So really quickly, just running through this. So we've got a subscriber. This is somebody who's just barely engaged with us. We're giving away insight. We're just giving it all away. Here, trust us. Learn about it. This is why we're smart. Listen to us. Read our stuff. You're going to love it. It's great. Just take it. Nope, it's free. Take it. The next step is they're a lead. Now they've engaged with us. You know, we know some things about them. They now trust us enough to give us some information about them. They've given us maybe their phone number, their email address. We're going to call them a lead. Now we're going to start introducing them to the product and the services that we offer, right? Now's the time to say, hey, we're starting to get a solution. Qualified lead. This is somebody who's, you know, more than a lead. We really know they have a problem they're looking to solve, and we think we can solve it. So now we're going to give them some details about the product. Maybe we're going to connect the product to their specific pain point, right? So that they start to connect the dots of that they can trust us that our product's going to solve their problem. And then finally, when they become an opportunity, this is where, you know, the rubber hits the road. This is where they're finally into decision-making mode. They trust us. They're just trying to make that final decision. This is when we talk about pricing. We're not talking about pricing beforehand. We're not getting them to buy now and any of that beforehand. And then finally, at the very bottom, because customer is part of this life cycle stage too, right? We're giving them support options. We're helping them with the product, those kinds of things. So we don't want to be showing, you know, product options or pricing or details about the product to the customer. We want to be helping them to use it at this point, right? So it's really important that we align our content that way. So what this all comes down to is making your content smart, right? So building a good relationship is all about being smart about the person you're building that relationship with, right? So how smart can we make our content, right? So we saw smart CTAs this morning. So we're going to be all about smart things at HubSpot because we want to be smart. And it's good to build relationships with smart people, right? So smart CTAs is the first piece. I'll talk a little bit about where we're going to go in a minute, but I wanted to take you through an example at HubSpot of how we're making our content smarter. You saw a little tidbit of it with Brian this morning. Hopefully I can give you a little bit more insight into how exactly we're putting this into action with smart CTAs now. So this is a landing page that we've got at HubSpot. This is a live landing page that we've got for a webinar. And you see that little CTA over there in the corner, right? Really simple piece of content. That actually has 4 different versions that we show depending on the life cycle stage of the person that comes to this site, right? So really simple, but the messaging is aligned with where they are and the relationship that we have with them, and a combination of both what they want next and what we want next, right? Because it's a two-sided relationship too. Relationships always are, the good ones. So how do we do this? And then I'll show you how it actually works in a second. So when you go to your dashboard, and you guys saw this in the demo, there's a new button over here, this Create Smart Call to Action if you're a pro or an enterprise user. So I will make sure you understand that caveat. Basic users don't have smart call to actions right now. You guys, if you're basic, really should be focusing on creating really good core content. Then you move on to the next step, and that's when you're ready for this stuff. But if you are a professional user, or an enterprise user, you'll have this new button for creating a smart call to action. You click on that. It's right on your main CTA dashboard. It's just like any other CTA, it's right there. First step in this process is deciding what type of smart CTA you want. So there's two different types of smart CTAs. There's a lifecycle stage one, which is that bottom selection, and then there's contact lists. So contact lists is the more complex version. I'll talk about some examples of that in a minute, but let's take a look at lifecycle stage. First step in the process, you're going to sort of pick the lifecycle stage that you want to build a button for, and then you're going to select a button. And really what this is you're pairing up. It's a really simple process. You're pairing up a button or a piece of content, right? Because it doesn't really have to necessarily be just a button, with a group of your contacts, somebody that's defined, in this case, happened to be defined by the lifecycle stage that they're in. And you're going to align those two, and that's as simple as the process is. So once you're done, you get something like this. So this is for that page. This is the version we've got. There's one more that you can't see. It's just off the screen. You've got these three different, very different CTAs, right? So the first one you see at the top there is the subscriber. This is the person who's at the top of the funnel. We're going to show them this call to action. That's a very simple, it's all about get some insight from us. Get this free ebook. Here you go. Take our stuff and go and learn all about this stuff. And then when you trust us, come back. The other calls to action is you can see that, the free HubSpot demo, it's more about the product. We're trying to introduce them to the product. They're ready for that. And then finally, as they become a marketing qualified lead, it's more like, well, hey, you should engage with somebody smart that can help you understand if this is right for you. So this is when we want to engage them with the sales process and all of that. So once that's built, so you build those up, right? Build that process up. That's it, right? Then you just use it like any other call to action, and it will do its thing, right? So you can, once you're creating an email, a blog, a landing page, a website, you can use these smart CTAs anywhere you want, right? So you can put them right into your content. You simply open up the call to action dashboard, you find the call to action that you want to insert, and you click on the button, the insert CTA, and that's it. It's in, you align it, you do your styling on your content, all that stuff. It's that easy. So you don't have to, there's no other crazy logic stuff you have to set up or wire up your site. It's all there, right? You don't have to put any other JavaScript or things like that on your website. It's all taken care of with the normal HubSpot stuff. So once you set it up and you put it into your content, you're ready to go. The other thing you can do with smart CTAs, it's not limited to just your HubSpot content, right? So a lot of you may have other content that's hosted on other platforms, whether it's WordPress, you name it, whatever your own personal hosting that you've got your own website that you manage yourself. Just like a normal CTA at HubSpot, you can grab this embed code, and it's as simple as taking that, dropping it onto your site, and now all of a sudden you've got smart content, you've got smart CTAs on your non-HubSpot site, right? You get all the same great analytics, all that great insight, get all that data back in your HubSpot, and you can have this really good contextual content on your non-HubSpot site. So this is what you get on this page, basically, if you're a subscriber. This is what you see if you see a lead, and this is what you see if you're a marketing qualified lead. And it's really invisible to the visitor, right? They're just seeing more valuable stuff. So this is a super simple example, right? Just this little tiny thing in the corner. So you might be asking, well, it seems like a lot of work. Why can't I just make a normal CTA? And does this stuff really generate that much more value? Yeah, the answer is obvious, right? So here's some data that's not HubSpot data, but there's tons of it out there. You can go search around, search for personalized data, performance, those kinds of things. You will find a bajillion charts like this. You personalize your offers in every single context, in every single area, and it's going to perform better, right? It works, right? And it makes sense that it works, right? It's more human, right? You're now engaging in a conversation with somebody that they want to engage with. And if I found you on the street and start talking about something that you don't care about or maybe you don't even like, you're not even going to talk to me, right? It's not interesting. So it just makes sense, right? Personalized offers work. All right, so I talked about that's a simple example with a lifecycle stage. So there's a whole bunch of other things you can do with a contact list, right? So anything that you can slice and dice your contacts by, all that rich data that you have about them, all of that is a tool at your disposal to present different content and establish context. Geography, right? You've got customers in different areas of the country that have needs. Maybe you're you're a real estate broker. You've got a group of small real estate companies or offices across the country. You don't want your CTA in Boston to say, come look at this house in San Francisco that we've got this great house that lines up. You want them to be contextual, right? So this is where you can, if you know where your customers are and the visitors are, show them something that's contextual. Product interest, right? Maybe we have different products in our lineup. We have different services. We can line those things up with their product interests. Persona. We're huge persona believers. You guys should probably know this by now at HubSpot. It just drives everything in your organization. Another side note, if you're not using personas right now, you should be. Personas are an amazing tool for aligning your entire company behind the direction you need to go. Personas. If you know the persona of the person that's visiting your site, you can directly connect with them much better, right? So show them content that aligns with their needs. If you're doing personas right, you really understand the needs of that person that's visiting your site. Biggest pain point, really kind of similar to persona, it's related, but if you connect that content directly with solving their pain and you can demonstrate that in the content, specifically their pain, not just a generalized pain, but specifically that visitor's pain, you're going to be much more likely to engage. So let's go back and look at that Sony example. So what would I do on this site if Sony was a HubSpot customer, right? So if Sony was a HubSpot customer, how would I change this thing? I've showed you a really simple example of what we do at HubSpot, but these can be really complicated. This is the site I would show to me if I visited Sony today, right? So, I want to buy a TV right now. Look at Gronk. Look at that guy laying out for that pass, right? I'm a Pats fan. I love big TVs. I love electronics. It's seasonal. This is beautiful, right? I really want to go buy this TV. So how would I do this, right? So that is one big CTA, right? It's a hero image on the page. It doesn't need to be a bunch of different components. It can be one image at the top that drives this traffic. So the way I would do this, and it's just a simple example that I put together for this, I can create this one. I can create these targeted segments based on my major markets, right? So maybe I've got one for New England, one for New York, one for San Francisco, one for Chicago, what have you. And I've got this segment that I've created, this New England electronics shopper sports fan, right? Based on all that criteria that I know about these folks because they've visited my site, those kinds of things. And I build up this, fairly simple image. I'm not a designer by any means. I threw this together in PowerPoint. You can make really, really nice graphics in PowerPoint and export them as images and use them in the CTA tool. It's actually really easy to do. If you've got Photoshop access and you know how to use it, you can do even really cooler, amazing things, right? And upload them into the CTA tool to generate content. So, then we've got this other one. So, this is the page I would see, right? It's all about the Patriots. It's got the image there with the Patriots. It's drawing me in. It's engaging with me. Of course, if I'm some bozo from New York, this is what I see. Eli, and I'm sorry, it's too soon. I got to move past that. All right, so that's smart CTAs. But let's talk a little bit about where we're going. So this is really, really just the beginning, as Brian was talking about. So what we're going to be all about over the course of the next year, and frankly, the next couple of months, you're going to start to see pieces of this roll out as well, stuff that we weren't even talking about in HubSpot 3, new stuff that's going to be rolling out, is content optimization. So there's a whole bunch of content management systems out there. Great, great tools that are really easy to use. You can make some really sexy websites with them. They're really flexible, all that great stuff. What they lack, though, is that, what they are is they're standalone, right? More data, more problems, yeah. So, but that's true, right? If you've got another CMS that's over here, there's no intelligence in there. You've got to do a ton of work to get that wired up. You could probably do this if you could hire a developer or 2, 5, I don't know, get this to work. But having all this stuff in one place in a smart system is really the key. What we need for modern marketing to do all of this with this dynamic content is you need a content optimization system. You don't need to manage your content. You need to optimize your content. All this great content, you need to show the right stuff to the right people at the right time. That's an important thing to remember. So how are we going to do that, right? So we're going to make marketing that people love, right? So how do we do that, right? What is marketing at the core? I already said it. It's the right message. This is it. This is all marketing is. Honest to God, it's not that complicated. It's the right message, the right person, at the right time. That's it. If you can do this every single time, you will win, right? You're going to have a great conversation. You're going to have this really contextual matchup of the right message to the right person at the right time. This is great marketing. And this is, frankly, it's just human marketing, right? So in HubSpot, this is what we're going to do. We're going to give you the tools to do this, and here's how we're going to do it. So you guys heard all about contacts earlier. Contacts is all about all those rich details that you know about everybody that visits your site and that engages with your products and services. Content is all about the website and having a single repository for everything that you have. Your blog, your email, your ebooks, your rich media, your videos, everything. Soon you're going to want to put everything into HubSpot because we're going to have this amazing rich intelligence about all that content and what works. Connected with your contacts, and then finally the reports and analytics, which tell you that right time, right? So understanding how all these three match together creates this content optimization system, right? There's no other system in the world that's going to do this like this. Bringing all of these three things together, all of your content, the more content you put in, the smarter the system's going to get. The more contacts that you put in here, the smarter the system's going to get at understanding how it performs. This is what we're building right now. The first two pieces of this that are launching are we've got the email tool that launched just a couple of months ago. Some of you guys are probably using it right now. The next tool is the landing page tool that's right now launching with HubSpot 3. The next after that, we're going to have blog. We're going to do the blog platform again. That's going to be on this content optimization system. And we'll do the full hosting solution as well for the CMS replacement as well. Then we're going to start, there's a whole bunch of other things we're going to do to enable you to put all of your content into HubSpot. You'll be able to have it anywhere you want on the web as far as where it gets shared and viewed and all of that, but you're going to have the core of it all in HubSpot so that we can understand what's performing and what isn't. So we bring this all back home, right? So those of you who kind of fell asleep or just took a nap in the back, you can wake up now. Wake up. Write these things down. Cool? If you write these down and take them back to the office, you'll get the value, right? So content is still king, but it's only king when it's wrapped in context, right? If you don't have context around your content, it's just a dog, right? Your context improves with every bit of information that you have about those contacts, those folks that are visiting your site. Every bit of information you have improves that. And it's going to change, right? By definition, you want it to change. You want the context of the people visiting your site to change and to evolve over time. If it's not, then they're stuck kind of in the funnel and you need them to move forward. It's going to change, and your content has to change with it, right? So you need to have tools that are going to change with it. Cool? All right, so that's all I got. Again, there's the link. So now if you really want to go and rate it, you can. And that's what I got today. And now questions. That one? Cool. Yeah, I can leave that up. Yes? So the obtuse answer that everybody always gives to questions like that, it depends. Sorry, so I'll repeat the question. So at least let me try to repeat the question as best I can. So question is, sometimes, the pricing page is at the bottom of the funnel. Oftentimes we think about we don't want to show pricing until the bottom of the funnel, but sometimes a customer might visit that pricing page up front. We don't want to prevent them from There's sort of different ways to think about when they should view each type of content. So my quick answer to that, is that close to your question? All right, so my quick answer to that is it depends, right? Every situation is going to be different. I don't think you want to block people from seeing content. It's not like you're going to sort of prevent them from getting to the pricing page. That may be a good indicator that they're at a different stage in the life cycle than you think they are, right? So we actually use things like that, like viewed pricing page, as a trigger to do things like set their life cycle stage to marketing qualified lead. We might do something like that, even if they just showed it up at our website. That process of moving through the funnel doesn't have to be slow. It can be fast. They could move to that next step. Or for your particular business, it may be that that's at a different place. You need to understand your content and where that is in the flow. I don't know if that's an obtuse answer, I realize, but yeah. Yeah.
Our customer base is worldwide, and so we don't always deal with opportunities where English is the main language. I'm curious if HubSpot has played with using language as a context. If someone indicates they're in a certain video, that maybe having some of your levels translated into
Sure.
by Chinese, having German or something like that. Is anything you guys have looked into, or are you kind of more signed to your base in the U.S. and partner pretty heavily from there?
Yeah. Cool. So the question is around, just to paraphrase a little bit, is around using language to set context, right? So having different content based on different languages to show, and using that as kind of the trigger of your content, those kinds of things. So I'll answer that in a couple of different ways. Number one is that's brilliant. That is a brilliant way to set context, right? Like there is nothing worse, possibly, than showing somebody something that isn't in there. Like that's the biggest turn. I tell you what, if I go and I get to a site that's all in Spanish, I'm gone. I really wish I could read Spanish, but I can't. I'm gone. I'm out of there. It's like the worst form of lack of context. So I would say that's an absolutely brilliant way to set context, is to make sure that your CTA matches and aligns with that. You need to be able to gather that information and store that information and have that information associated with your contacts. You can do that in HubSpot, but you need to make sure that you're capturing that information correctly and all that. The next thing, I'll extend that a little bit because it's definitely important, and it's something that has been a bit of a challenge for some of the international users on HubSpot. We are expanding significantly to think about our international customers over the coming year or so. It's super important. We're opening an overseas office at this point. International is important. We are not just a US-based company. We have, we want to dominate the world, really. So any of your static content that's viewable to customers at this point in the new content optimization system you'll be able to translate that into whatever language is most appropriate for your platform. And some of the newer, when we talked about the smart CTAs, that's really just the beginning. We're going to have entire smart content modules, so you'll be able to have an entire block of rich content with multiple links and all kinds of things like that. You'll be able to control that in just the same way with just as much ease, right? And so you'll be able to translate all of that content and have it, just as contextual. So does that answer you long? Okay. Yep. Yeah, we use workflows for everything. We don't. Absolutely. So with the, with some of the event stuff, so there's some stuff we'll have to. If you want to follow up with me, if there's specific things you have on, like how would I do it, I can connect you with Christopher O'Donnell, who owns that piece of the product, and we can talk about that. But absolutely, that's exactly how we do it. We actually have a workflow, and we know when they do these things. Okay, now they're a marketing qualified lead. Flip that in their contact record. So change that property in the contact record from a lead to a marketing qualified lead. And now, all of a sudden, all kinds of magical things happen because we have a Salesforce integration. Now they're a marketing qualified lead, so they show up on a salesman's dashboard, and he gets to call them, and and all the sort of magic of moving them along happens, right? So by tying all that together, we don't upload a list. We're not doing anything manual like that, right? Yep. Yes. Yeah, so the question was, is there a default state for smart CTAs? Absolutely. Sorry I didn't touch on that. So that's actually in the process of building a smart CTA, the first thing you define is what's the default view, right? Because you're going to have those top of the funnel folks that you've never seen before. You haven't set that cookie. It's a cookie-based system. You're going to set that cookie, and then we're going to, based on the cookie that we see, we'll match that up with the contact record. If we've never seen them before, we're going to show that default. So that's kind of the fallback. That's the last thing in the priority list that we'll show. Absolutely. So to follow up, that's particular pages that they can visit. Can that trigger a workflow? Those kinds of things. Absolutely. So you can have they visit the pricing page. So by definition, they are a marketing qualified lead. We're going to now flip that over and make them that so that all that magic happens. All right. Thanks for coming and surviving the last session. It's party time.